Okay, you're live.
Great, everybody ready?
Yeah.
All right, welcome everyone to the Monday, February 24th meeting of the Pine Bluffs Town Council. Will everyone rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item is the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Next item is the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. On to new business. First item under new business is the conditional use permit for 512 West 5th Street. This is a permit to place a mobile home on this property that has previously had a mobile home on this property.
Yes. It's not clear in our records whether or not the property had a conditional use permit or not. So basically, this is just an administrative cleanup of the property use and the conditional use permit for it.
I move to approve the conditional use permit application for 512 West 5th Street.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the conditional use permit for 512 West 5th Street. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2 is ordinance 2025-01 on the second reading. An ordinance amending Chapter 2, Article 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of Pine Bluffs, Wyoming, adjusting the regular meeting schedule and providing for an effective date.
I move to adopt ordinance 2025-01 on second reading.
Second it.
Been moved and seconded to adopt ordinance 2025-01 on second reading. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? So, on to item 3, which is resolution 2025-05. A resolution authorizing submission of a federal mineral royalty capital construction account grant application to the state loan and investment board on behalf of the governing body of the town of Pine Bluffs for the purchase of connecting the municipal wastewater system to the commercial and industrial zones of the North Wells development known as Prairie View.
Mayor and council, I would like to just kind of go over where we're at. I've provided you some spreadsheets. It's probably an overabundance of information at this point, but I think it illustrates how in-depth we went when trying to calculate the cost of adding infrastructure to the industrial park and tying in the commercial zone in the base area to the municipal sewer system. Initially, we had them break it down into the different categories, just trying to, in the event that we have to make a cut, where that would come from. But we are looking at an overall cost of basically $4.3 million to make all of these additions. This dollar amount really didn't come as any surprise when we did our initial bidding for the entire north development. We knew that that dollar amount was gonna be there. We kind of backed off and just went with the base bid for the north part of the property because that's what we felt we had comfortable funding for. With the recent property purchases and desire for more property in that industrial park, we have deemed it more necessary to get some of the infrastructure, if not all of it, in place. So what we did was we took this dollar amount and the information and had a meeting with the grant and loan manager at SLIB and determined that we could kind of help offset those costs with the application of a $1 million grant, mineral royalty grant. We did have to earmark what that grant would be used for, and so we determined that that could be used for the sewer system in that industrial park area. We also currently have a state revolving fund drinking water loan on the base property. And that loan is for $1.875 million, and that is at a 50% principal forgiveness. So when the project is complete, we will look at the total amount of that 1.8 million that was used. So for instance, if we only use 1.8 million and we have that 75,000 left over, we would relinquish that back to the state lands and investments. And then our loan would be forgiven 50% of that 1.8 million. So as opposed to going any other source, we decided that we would take 822,000 and add that to the existing 1.875 million. And that would cover the water services to that industrial park. We decided to go that route because, again, we get that 50% principal forgiveness, and then the remainder of that loan would be at the 2.5% interest rate, so great interest rate on top of that. That would leave us with a balance of 2.5 or close to, 2.5 million that we would then apply for a capital construction loan. And a capital construction loan is at a higher interest rate and there is no principal forgiveness on that. So as we will go through these resolutions, you will see a resolution in there for a capital construction loan application. That is going to be at the full project amount of the 4.39 or 4.35 million, because that board meets before we know about the MRG or the SRF. So we've got to have that amount in there. However, if approved for that, we obviously wouldn't need to use the whole thing. The other thing that we can consider is part of the infrastructure would be to bring the electrical service in. When we did the electrical service bid, secondary to the base bid, i.e. the residential properties and the commercial and the north part of the property, we only had them break it out by that and an alternate bid to include the industrial park and to bury all the power lines along what we now know of as North Beach and Bourbon Street. We wouldn't have to necessarily do that piece of it to put in the industrial park. So we could potentially lower our capital construction loan by an additional $823,000, bringing down the total capital construction loan need to approximately $1.7 million. I am confident that if we are awarded that the $1.7 million would be repaid by, and we would allot that our repayment would be made by lot sales to not only the industrial park, but to other properties in the north property area. So again, this is kind of the background on where all of these three resolutions come into play. And there was a very short turnaround time, so I'm sorry I didn't have an opportunity to meet with you all more specifically about this, but the grant application for the mineral royalty grant was due last Thursday. The SRF addition is due this week, and the capital construction loan is due by March 7th, so just a quick turnaround on those 3 applications to SLIB. We would know about the SRF add-on as soon as the beginning of April. We would know about the capital construction loan at the first meeting in June, I believe it's June 2nd, and we would know about the mineral royalty grant. I'm sorry, yes, the mineral royalty grant. We wouldn't know until about June 20th, so. With all that said, the existing contractor is on board with their original bid pricing. By doing all of this now, it's enticing to SLIB to help finance it because we would be saving money on mobility costs and bidding and, redoing all of the plan sets to go out to bidders and things like that. So there is definitely a cost savings to doing it now. And again, that we have the interest and drive to do it at this point in time. So I would also like to state that even if we're awarded the capital construction loan for that 4.35, if we are unsuccessful in the mineral royalty grant or the addition to the SRF loan, we don't have to accept that capital construction loan. At that point in time, you could all make that decision to say, no, I don't think we should move forward with this plan at all, and we should seek other avenues of funding.
I think we, even by approving this, that's what I would say, is we're not locked into doing any one of these things.
We are not.
We needed to have the approval to apply for them. And in terms of the infrastructure, I will say that we're getting services down to this one area that we knew was going to be very expensive because it was at the furthest end of the property where the infrastructure was needed. But along the way, my point being is, along the way, we're taking main arteries by virtually every other piece of property located out there now. What that eventually becomes will be probably a long time from now, but the main arteries will be in place to service more than just these lots. And so I think,
Yes.
while I'm not advocating for this dollar amount, I sure hope we can, smartly find ways to trim this down and do some things. It's more than just about these industrial lots that we currently have platted. Anybody? Do we have a motion?
I move to adopt resolution 2025-05.
Been moved and seconded to adopt resolution 2025-05. Any discussion, other discussion? Questions?
I'm not sure if you said or not, the capital construction loan, do we know what that interest rate would be?
I believe it is currently at 5%. And it's for a 25-year period.
The other part I would say to that is that by locking this in place, it just gives us a lot more room to maneuver with other sources. Like, potentially we're going to be coming around the 6 penny again and some other things. And I think it's just hard to know what's out there, but I think we need to lock down what's available today and see what that looks like when we know what we're approved for, whether it's something everyone wants to move forward with or however. So.
But we're not gonna develop too many lots out there without infrastructure. So, one way or the other, this is gonna be necessary.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Item number 4 is Resolution 2025-06, a resolution authorizing submission of a capital construction application to the State Loan Investment Board on behalf of the governing body of the town of Pine Bluffs for the purpose of connecting town infrastructure to a new industrial park in the North Wells development known as Prairie View.
I move to adopt resolution 2025-06.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded to adopt resolution 2025-06. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Item number 5, resolution 2025-07. A resolution authorizing submission of an application to the State Loan and Investment Board State Revolving Fund Loan Program on behalf of the governing body of the town of Pine Bluffs for the purpose of increasing drinking water SRF loan number 255 to connect the North Wells Development Industrial Park.
I move to adopt resolution 2025-07.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve to adopt resolution 2025-07. Any discussion?
It says the purpose of increasing drinking
So
water
that-
SRF loan. Do we have an existing?
That's the one for phase 1 we already have.
That we
a
already
loan in
have,
place.
okay.
They
Yes.
would allow us to add on.
To add on to it, that's what I was wondering. Okay.
That's at the 2.5%.
Correct, with the 50% principal forgiveness.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. They did make a motion on that, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm all over it. All right. Any visitor comments?
Nada.
All right, department reports.
Yep, real quick for the senior center. Current members here, 269. They served 1,292 meals. This is for January of 2025. 99 of their clients participated in activities, traveled quite ways, about 1,027 miles to 106 stops. 7 clients are on their caregiving program. The food pantry client list is 92 households, and they served 35 clients in January. So that's it.
Dave?
Nothing to report. Well, there will be a joint powers board meeting next Monday.
WNPA has not met since our last meeting, so I have nothing to report.
On the LAM side of things, we're still just watching and waiting for some things to finish up. Senate File 69, the property tax one, did pass the House with, they went through about 21 amendments. It is vastly different than what the Senate pushed out to the House, so on concurrence, they sent it back. So waiting for joint conference to see where we land on that. But some positive things, I think that not that it completely affects us, but some positive things like using federal credit unions has been going really well, has been getting some traction, so that will help some small communities who don't have options of a state bank or a federal bank in their communities. The other one that they were working through today that has gone well in the Senate, but we don't know I didn't finish how it went in the House was, the creation of allowing us to invest local money, into, I think they're creating like a YO Star 3 for counties and, localities, so it'll be interesting to see how that turns out, if they amend it any, but that could be really positive for us. Hopefully that will carry through the House, and then we do have a few wins, not as many as we had hoped for, but we had some.
Dennis?
Laramie County Landfill has been, for the last couple of years, working on getting Chapter 6 approval to build a dry transfer station. And it is in the final stages of comment. And there's been no opposition to it. So it's looking like we'll have approval by April 1st to build a transfer station at the landfill. What that'll do is that'll give them the ability to bring the loads into a building, unload in a building in a protected area. So they'll avoid a lot of the downtime, because right now if the wind is above a particular level, they have to shut the landfill down so there's not blowing trash. There's a lot of problems with it, and it also makes it so that they can sort the trash in the transfer station and recover metal and start working on doing recycling. It's looking like I said, April 1st, we should have approval for that, so we've started working on layout of the new facility and where to put the buildings and how to organize it.
Would you, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna ask, any idea what the cost of that project would be?
Oh, probably something in the range of $4 or $5 million. That has yet to be. We're thinking to start with one of the big fabric buildings, like
A hoop building?
yeah, the hoop buildings, like what they use to put the salt in for the
Department.
But we'll have to have water and power, and one of the things that's going to be necessary is if the trash that's going into the landfill now is shredded, they can reduce the total volume by about 75%. So by shredding it, you can get it down to, so that prolongs the life of the landfill by getting a denser pack in there. And so we'll end up needing another shredder probably, but we can, if it's in the transfer station, we can put a electrically driven shredder in there to reduce the volume of the trash, and then we'll haul it out and dump it in the landfill later. There's definitely going to be some challenges to getting it all set up and running, but ultimately I think it's going to prolong the life of the landfill probably well into 2050 or 2060. Even if we start accumulating, having to take Cheyenne's trash, it's likely that that's going to happen. The only thing we have to do is we have to stay under 500 tons of trash per day to operate under the current licensing. Right now they're running about 30 ton an hour. So it's a substantial amount of trash. Laramie County landfill is now the second largest landfill in the state of Wyoming. I think that they're doing a good job running, and it's being run like a business, and it's doing well.
But, and I say this based on what we pay, but, I mean, I assume you're keeping an eye on, we are not, citizens of Laramie County are not subsidizing people outside Laramie County. I'm asking, are we people transferring solid waste from Colorado or wherever that might be? Are we charging them a rate that maybe helps offset the cost to Laramie County residents?
We're trying to charge a different rate than what,
And can you legally do that?
yeah, it seems as though we can. One of the things that we can do to offset the cost of the landfill for the local residents is if we can get the drill tailings again. The drilling kind of just shut down. The landfill was making, when drilling was hard and heavy, they were making between 40 and 80,000 a month drill tailings. It was, there's really good money in that, and that's just from the oil rigs. If we can get the drilling back, we should be able to keep the cost under control with they're really concerned right now too, because they're a special district. They're gonna lose a huge amount of funding. So, like everybody else, they're kind of sweating the program to figure out where it's gonna be, but if we can get the drilling back, it'll offset any losses that we might take.
Great. Anything else? Alex?
Still working with Text My Gov. I think we'll have it, should be on our website next week to where people can start signing up, and we're gonna put a notice out on our Facebook and on the website this week saying, hey, you're gonna be getting a call or a text. This isn't spam. You may opt in or opt out. I think it's just gonna be so good.
Can you put that on the bills that go out?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm going to at the end of the month as well, put them on the bills and,
Well, yesterday was a great example of
Yes.
when we could have used it, but
Yes.
also we're still gonna need somebody running that system is gonna need to be kind of on call a little bit, right?
yeah,
Not part of the
and we'll
program.
arrange that within the office, you know, between Jerica and myself, and, cause I don't think it's gonna be very often. We'll just have that number that the Text My Gov goes to, forwarded to one of our phones, or maybe both of them, and whichever of us catches it first. So, we're setting up the quarterly elected officials dinner, April 30th, I think is the consensus. I think we can all do April 30th.
Today,
Yeah.
Yay, we'll probably do it upstairs, that's our plan, and the mayor and I are gonna get together and figure out some good catering options, so. We'll make sure you guys eat well.
It'll be 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock, yes. And I'll give you more updates when that gets closer. That's it.
great, thank you. Kim?
Well, as you know, we had a water line break over by the ball field yesterday. We believe that it's part of actually an abandoned line. And so we were able to find the valve, which took some doing yesterday, but they were able to find the valve and get it isolated, and we believe this is just gonna be a permanent closing of that one valve, because it appears that it just goes to this line that just is not used anymore. We're just gonna make sure we do a little bit more due diligence on that and take care of it. We're letting the hole dry out now so that we can, get it filled in, but it will be open for a while, cause it's gonna take a bit, although with all the wind, maybe it'll dry out pretty fast, so. We've also been having some SCADA issues at well number 2. We've been having those for a long time, and so last week I had a conversation with Lauren about, is there any kind of possibility that the siren that was installed over there from emergency management, is there any way, is there a possibility that the radio frequencies could be interfering? So we're not sure. Lauren's doing a little bit of digging on that. We're just gonna have to do some kind of a radio frequency test. So we've reached out to Absolute Solutions in Cheyenne to assist us with that, to see if we can't figure out what's going on with that, over there. So in the meantime, Lauren just handles everything manually with that one particular well, but again, it's only because we have something that's interfering with the radio signals for the SCADA.
That's not, it's intermittent, or is it all the time?
Well,
Or
it's all the time that we're trying to
communicate with it?
communicate, which isn't continuous, but,
Where is that one located again, well, too?
that is the one that's located on Highway 30 over there, just to the east of Butler.
Okay.
And a few years ago, they put in that secondary siren system, and so again, I don't know if that's the cause, it's a shot in the dark.
Sure.
But it's worth seeing if that's the cause. If not, then it could be a more expensive proposition to find out what the issue is with that. But in addition to that, I can never get any readings off of the electric meter over there. So that's what led me to believe that it's probably a radio frequency issue. But again, we won't. I think the least expensive step is to get somebody to come in here and do a radio frequency test out there and see if there is interference and where it could possibly be coming from. So,
I had a Wi-Fi broadcaster on the outside of my building. It's probably
screwing it up.
are you messing up our
It's
SCADA system? And as you know, we've been working on these 3 funding application packages for our industrial park and to tie in sewer to our commercial zone. In addition, we have, and I have not ever received, as long as I've worked for the town, a funding priority list project, but each year we submit drinking water and clean water projects on an intended use plan. And we submit that to the Department of Environmental Quality. And they've changed the way they've done the program a little bit, but they rank these projects. And 2 projects out of the 4 that we submitted received priority placement. And basically what that means is that the principal forgiveness on these loans is basically set aside for the town of Pine Bluffs should we apply for and successfully receive these loans. One of them was for clean water project that we submitted for our sewer treatment lagoons, and it's improvements that include aeration, power supply, and potential baffling to address some short-circuiting that we have going on up there. Short-circuiting of the lagoons, not anything electrical, because we don't have electric there. This is something that we have been, requesting to do for a number of years, specifically the aeration. And for a number of reasons, if we don't have that in the wintertime, it freezes over, and that's when we end up having discharge. We have a permit to discharge, so we are doing it legally, but it does require us to do more testing in the wintertime, and that's more of an expense. But the other thing is, it will help keep our sludge levels at bay, which ultimately could reduce the future need. It won't eliminate it, but it would extend the life of our lagoons as far as sludge goes. So at some point, we would have to have the sludge removed if we didn't have reduced sludge amounts. So Again, aeration is important for a couple of different reasons. To run that aeration, we would need power, so that would include running power out there. At any rate, this is kind of a big deal for the town that we were selected for this project priority list. The project would be listed at about $1.9 million. We would receive that loan at, with a principal forgiveness of $518,000, and the remainder would be at an interest rate of 0.75%. So that's a great opportunity for us. I have committed to at least applying for the loan. And the applications, we have two different due dates. We could either get it due by June 2nd or August 4th, and we wouldn't know about it until either October 2nd or December 4th, respectively. So this would be a 2026 project. This gives us enough time to make sure that we budget for this in our next budgetary cycle. And again, that's clean water, so that would affect our sewer department. The other one was for a a drinking water loan. That project we have listed at $2.75 million. That would be at a 0.5% interest rate with principal forgiveness of 67%. This is another great project, or should I say it's actually a grouping of smaller projects into one lump sum. It would, we would look at a multitude of things, but backup generators for our wellheads, water line project to several users to prevent dead-end water stagnation. And we would abandon a 6-inch line south of 8th Street to remove any potential bacterial problems in the area. To avoid that now, we need to flush those hydrants on a regular basis. We would also put in a lower water line loop, or a water line loop to lower elevation users, and that loop would have to take us across the railroad tracks. So that's why this ends up being a little bit more of an expensive project. I think we should still apply for this loan application. However, it will require further decision on whether we accept it if we are successful, primarily because we have other SRF loans out right now, and we're talking about increasing one of them. So I'd need to look at a payback plan on some of the open ones so that we could reduce our debt to that department. But again, these are great opportunities, and if we're not successful this year, we would still list these projects on the IUP next year and maybe be offered this same opportunity. That's about all that I have right now.
Great. Announcements and meetings.
What's that?
Announcements. So the next meeting is March 10th. And in the workshop earlier, we had talked about, March 10th. We had talked about holding our workshop at that first meeting in March at 4:30 as opposed to the second meeting in March. So we'll meet March 10th at 4:30 for a workshop and 6 p.m. for the regular council meeting.
Yep.
Great. Any other business? Okay.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.